So this is Bir Pletok. And let me tell you why. Well, first of all, it's an amazing drink. You can't really find it in everywhere you go in Indonesia. But let's talk about the etymology of the name. So it's spelled on the menu B-E-E-R. But in fact, I think the proper spelling is B-I-R. And one of the reasons I like traveling in developing countries is simply because there are so many, I suppose, just everything has a meaning from somewhere else. Particularly in Indonesia, which was colonized or occupied by so many different powers because of its natural resources and its waterways, which would be essential for traveling and trade along with South Africa. So, especially a few hundred years ago, when you didn't really have any other alternatives. So, let's talk about the drink. You've got cinnamon, you've got ginger. It's just amazing. If you have a chance to try it, go for it. But I tried to look up what it really means because there's no alcohol. So there's a couple of options here, right? One, somebody might have just hung out with the Dutch and decided to make a halal version of a drink, but I don't think so. Maybe like in Malaysia, teh tarik might have either a blue-collar origin or even a British origin. We don't really know. But that's one of the mysteries of traveling overseas, is that a lot of things are mysteries. And it's up to you to try to figure these things out. So I was thinking, what about Turkish? So Bir means one in Turkish. So did the Ottomans ever come here? I mean, you look at the hats, the peshi, there are some similarities. They're not, so it's quite possible there's a Turkish element within places that offer this drink that we just don't know about. And the other word, pletok, I tried looking it up in Indonesian, but there's really no meaning in Indonesian as far as I know. But in Javanese, which is odd because I'm not in Java right now, I'm in Sumatra, but it means burst, apparently. I'm not an expert, I haven't heard that word before. So basically, one burst. So you're just sort of, which I suppose would make sense. If you're looking for energy, this would obviously help you. Wake up and all that. But that's what I'm trying to say, is that overall, right, when you travel to Western countries or developed countries, there's been a loss of history. There's been in losing their history because of cover-ups, basically, trying to cover up the bad things in order to facilitate trading with nations that were formerly occupied. You've got a removal of mystery from history. And the removal of that history in the West is oftentimes, essentially what we call whitewashed. And what you don't have here, because it's not a developed nation that has to sort of cover up anything, right? It was a country that was occupied. They would have to cover up some things, with respect to, what happened in Jawa. The power transfer between Sukarno and Suharto. Just what happened during the radio takeover, and so on and so forth. That's probably something that, for domestic purposes, would be difficult to reveal completely. But for purposes of traveling, you've got so many things just like this one that have a mystery to them, and that is a large portion of what you realize when you travel, is that there are mysteries everywhere, and it's up to you to try to find out what they are. Because it's not as if it's written down in the book. And ultimately, the lesson here is that you have to have cooperation between universities in different cities and different countries to try to figure out these mysteries. Because if you don't have that cooperation, you're never going to know, just the origins of simple things. And then if you don't know that, then you don't have a potential pathway to figuring out other things. In other words, if we can find out an Ottoman connection, but what else is there that, if you pull on that thread, what else is there? And that's also why you don't want to exclude other countries, because, especially not if they were former empires, like Russia obviously comes to mind, because if you do exclude anybody, every empire has problems and atrocities in its history. It's just a matter of degree. And so the question is, when you start sanctioning people, excluding people from alliances and so on and so forth, because you're trying to promote a military-led, I suppose, development paradigm that puts security first. A lot of times you have to really ask yourself, what are you losing when you exclude anyone? from anything.